The entire football world seemed to freeze for one moment. It was still the opening week of the World Cup, emotions were running high, and millions of fans across every continent were watching one decision unfold in real time. A penalty was awarded, and almost instantly, people began rewinding the footage. Supporters inside the stadium, viewers sitting at home, commentators in studios, and football analysts online all reached exactly the same conclusion. The attacker looked offside. Frame after frame appeared to show the player beyond the last defender before the foul happened. To almost everyone watching, the answer appeared obvious. Yet after a lengthy VAR review, the officials made their decision. No offside. Penalty confirmed. Moments later, the goal was scored. But the controversy was only beginning, because something strange happened immediately afterward. Everyone waited for the image that modern football fans have become used to seeing, the famous semi-automated offside graphic. The freeze frame with colored lines that normally ends arguments in seconds. Only this time, it never arrived. No lines, no graphic, no explanation, nothing. And suddenly, what should have been an ordinary VAR review transformed into one of FIFA's biggest public relations disasters. The incident occurred during the match between Qatar and Switzerland at Levi's Stadium in California. Early in the game, Swiss striker Breel Embolo stepped forward to take what became the first penalty of the tournament. The decision came after Remo Freuler was brought down inside the area by Qatar goalkeeper Mahmoud Abu Nada. From the contact itself, few people argued. The goalkeeper clearly made contact. The real issue was what happened before that challenge. Television replays appeared to show Freuler standing in an offside position before the collision ever occurred. Fans immediately noticed it. Social media exploded. Broadcasters replayed the moment repeatedly. Meanwhile, VAR officials were conducting their review. Spectators inside the stadium saw the "checking possible offside" message appear on the screens. Everyone expected the process to end with the usual visual confirmation. After several tense moments, the verdict arrived. Onside. Penalty awarded. Goal scored. And then everyone waited. Surely the lines would appear, but they didn't. Not on Fox in the United States, not on British television, not in Spain, not anywhere. Across the globe, millions of viewers were left staring at the same replay with no official image to explain why the decision had been upheld. And that absence created a vacuum. Fans filled that vacuum immediately. On social media, reactions came pouring in. Thousands of supporters insisted the player had been offside. Some labeled it the biggest officiating mistake of the tournament so far. Others called it a scandal. Many simply wanted one thing: proof. Not opinions, not explanations. Proof. Because football supporters have been told for years to trust technology. VAR exists to remove doubt. Semi-automated offside technology exists to provide clarity. But when the moment arrived that demanded transparency, the evidence everyone expected simply wasn't shown. The criticism quickly spread beyond supporters. Former players and television pundits openly questioned what had happened. Gary Neville, speaking during halftime coverage, expressed his frustration. He pointed out that FIFA itself controls the host broadcast and possesses the technology capable of displaying these decisions instantly. According to him, football fans already struggle to trust governing bodies and refereeing systems. Without the visual evidence, supporters naturally assumed something was wrong. Ian Wright echoed similar concerns. He questioned why viewers had not been shown the semi-automated offside image. To him, the player looked offside, and without seeing the lines, people were left guessing. Their criticism soon became headlines around the world, but perhaps the most damaging moment came several hours later, because FIFA finally responded. Roughly 3 hours after the match ended, the organization released a statement explaining the situation. According to FIFA, there had been a temporary technical issue. They claimed the malfunction prevented the animation graphic from being generated for television audiences. However, they insisted that the VAR process itself had functioned normally. Officials still had access to the lines. Officials still conducted their checks. Officials still determined the player was onside. To support their explanation, FIFA later released 2 images showing the decision. In other words, their message was simple: trust us. The evidence existed, you just couldn't see it when it mattered most. And that was precisely the problem. Because the controversy could have been avoided entirely. Had the image appeared live, the debate would have ended almost instantly. Instead, fans were asked to accept FIFA's explanation hours after the goal had already changed the match. Hours after the discussions had begun. Hours after accusations had spread around the world. And for many people, that simply wasn't enough. The timing couldn't have been worse, because this wasn't happening in isolation. By the third day of the tournament, FIFA had already faced criticism on multiple fronts. Fans had complained about expensive ticket prices. Questions had emerged about stadium attendance after several matches appeared to contain large sections of empty seats, despite official crowd figures suggesting otherwise. Travel restrictions had prevented supporters from numerous countries from entering. Reports surfaced of players and team staff experiencing difficulties at borders. Even one of FIFA's own selected referees was reportedly denied entry and sent home before officiating a single game. One controversy after another had piled up, so when the offside graphic failed to appear, many people didn't assume it was bad luck. They assumed something worse. Whether that suspicion was justified or not almost became irrelevant, because trust works in a very simple way. When credibility is strong, people give you the benefit of the doubt. When credibility is weak, they assume the worst. And by that stage, FIFA had spent days damaging its own reputation. To be fair, there remains another possibility. Perhaps the officials got the call exactly right. Perhaps the technology genuinely experienced an unexpected problem. Perhaps the lines truly showed Freuler onside. Maybe the graphics system simply failed at the worst possible moment. All of those things are possible, but that's exactly why the situation became so damaging. Because football's governing body had one responsibility in that moment: show the evidence, silence the criticism, move forward. Instead, the evidence appeared later, after the damage had already spread. And once public confidence disappears, explanations become much harder to accept. Ironically, all of this overshadowed what should have been a memorable moment for Qatar. Late in the match, the hosts managed to secure the first World Cup point in their history. It was a significant achievement, a moment worthy of celebration, but almost nobody was talking about it. The conversation had moved elsewhere. Fans weren't discussing tactics, they weren't discussing goals, they weren't discussing history, they were discussing transparency, because the football itself had delivered excitement. The tournament had already produced drama, surprises, and emotional moments. Everything fans hoped for was unfolding on the pitch, yet somehow the headlines once again focused on controversy instead of competition, and that is perhaps the saddest part of all. Football should have been the story. Instead, the missing offside lines became the story. A single graphic, one image, one piece of evidence, something that normally appears in seconds, something everyone expected, something nobody saw. Perhaps it really was just a technical failure. Perhaps it was unfortunate timing, or perhaps the damage went far beyond one decision, because once supporters stop trusting the people in charge, every mistake starts looking suspicious. And that's the nightmare FIFA found itself facing, not simply because a controversial call happened. Controversial calls have always existed, but because when the entire world demanded answers, the one thing capable of ending the debate remained hidden from view. The lines eventually appeared, but by then it was too late. The argument had already taken over, and maybe that says more about trust than technology. 3 days into the World Cup, football was thriving, but confidence in FIFA was beginning to collapse. And for millions watching around the globe, the most unforgettable image wasn't the goal, it wasn't the penalty, it wasn't even the celebration, it was the image that never appeared at all.